The psychology of the sword. How to articulate thoughts and express your ideas better. There comes a time in life when the mind speaks, but the mouth fails to follow. It's like holding a perfectly forged sword, but being unable to draw it when the battle begins. You feel the blow within you, you feel the intention, you feel the precision, but the instant you try to express it, it slips away like smoke through your fingers. And this isn't just uncomfortable, it's imprisoning. It's like living with an entire universe inside your head, but only being able to show people a grain of dust. This feeling of inner invisibility, of not being able to represent your own inner world, silently makes you ill. It leaves scars. It makes you doubt your own intelligence, your own personality, your own essence. And here's the philosophical truth that almost no one tells you. The difficulty in expressing ideas is not a lack of content, it's a lack of direction. It's like a warrior with strength but no technique, with will but no form, with power but no wisdom. In many Eastern traditions, especially in Zen and the teachings of Musashi, there is a simple principle. The sword only serves the warrior who knows his own spirit. The mind is your sword. Speech is the path it travels. If you have never learned to use this inner weapon, it is not because you lack the ability. It is simply because there has never been a master to teach you. When you can't articulate what you feel, it's not just communication that suffers. The world around you becomes distorted, relationships become fragile, opportunities are lost, misunderstandings grow like weeds. You end up living like a traveler who knows all the maps but can't point the way for anyone. Suffering arises from this disconnect between who you are internally and what the world perceives. In the East, this is called misalignment of the spirit. The moment when your inner truth fails to penetrate the outer world. But here's where the turning point begins. Clarity is not a gift. Clarity is a skill that is trained. Just as a warrior sharpens his blade, a monk sharpens his breath, and a calligrapher sharpens his stroke, you too can sharpen the way you transform thoughts into words. Nothing you have experienced is definitive. None of your difficulties are permanent. Within you exists a whole voice, deep, lucid, wise, that only needs structure to be born. From this point on, you cease to be someone who suffers with their own mind and become someone capable of guiding it. Today, you're going to learn not only how to speak better, mass think with form, feel with direction, and express with power. Today, you draw your sword. Most people believe that articulating ideas is a gift reserved for a select few, extroverts, the talented, the naturally eloquent. But Eastern philosophy asserts just the opposite. The expression is a consequence of the internal state. When the mind is clouded, speech comes out clouded. When the mind is agitated, speech comes out hurried. When the mind is trapped, speech becomes a labyrinth. None of this has to do with intelligence. It has to do with alignment. Imagine a lake. If you look at a turbulent lake, nothing is reflected. The images break, distort, and blend together. This is how thought is when emotion dominates. You know something is there, but you can't see it clearly enough to put it into words. Now imagine that same lake when the wind stops. The surface becomes smooth as glass. At that moment, everything is reflected perfectly. This is the mental state that articulates calmness, presence, and intention. For years, many people have felt exactly this: deep but disconnected thoughts, rich but formless ideas, intense but unstructured feelings that cannot be communicated. It's like holding a rough diamond in your mind, but only being able to show loose pebbles to the world. And the most painful thing is that this failure to communicate creates an emotional shadow. You start to believe that you are less, that you don't know, that you aren't good enough. But this is false. You are not incapable. You are misaligned. In Zen philosophy, there is a powerful phrase, "The bow never fails." It's the archer who fails because he doesn't breathe. Applied to speech, communication doesn't fail. What fails is the mind, which can't find the space to organize itself. And why does this happen? Because we grew up in a world that taught us to speak, but didn't teach us to think calmly, a pause, a naming feelings, to observe one's own mind before attempting to express it. Speech is not an isolated act. It is a reflection of an entire inner world. When that world is anxious, speech stumbles. When it is accelerated, speech rushes. When it is disconnected, speech fragments. You don't need more intelligence to communicate better. You need less internal noise. And from now on, you're going to learn exactly that. How to silence the agitation, organizing thoughts, expand vocabulary, train intention, using silence as a weapon, speak with presence, and master internal tools that are as powerful as any external technique. From this point on, you stop being a spectator of your own mental chaos and become the craftsman of your own clarity. What you're going to learn isn't about looking smart. It's about to be true. And when truth aligns with thought, the words finally flow. When a martial arts master moves his body, each gesture seems simple, but those who observe closely realize that nothing is random. Each turn, each block, each displacement depends on the perfect harmony between dozens of joints. A sword strike doesn't originate solely from the arm. It originates from the wrist, the shoulder, the posture, the breath, the hip, the intention. It's a complete movement expressed in a single action. Thought is the same. Speech is the same. In the East, there is a profound teaching. That which is not internally articulated never manifests externally. You can't express an idea you don't master. And you can't master an idea that lacks internal articulations, connections, references, associations, clear meanings. Just as the human body needs joints to move, the mind needs articulations to create meaning. Words are articulations. Concepts are articulations. Comparisons, metaphors, analogies, all of these form the joints of thought. The more of these you have, the more freedom you possess to move between ideas and express them naturally. The mistake people make when they believe they don't know how to communicate is thinking they lack intelligence. But what they really lack is practice in building these internal articulations. A samurai doesn't win because he is strong. He wins because his movements are in harmony with each other. Similarly, a communicator doesn't convince because they know how to speak beautifully. They convince because their mind is organized, structured, and articulated in layers that fit together. When you try to speak and feel like the words are stuck, it's not because there's a lack of content. It's because there's a lack of connection between the points. The idea exists, but it's disconnected, like an arm trying to move without articulation at the elbow. In Zen, there is the metaphor of the invisible bridge. Thought is one shore, speech is another, and between them lies a bridge that you build. When that bridge doesn't exist, what you feel never reaches the world. You live trapped in the labyrinth of your own mind, and that's painful. But when that bridge is built, something extraordinary happens. Your thoughts begin to move with elegance. You see them clearly. You organize them like someone positioning pieces in a strategic game. And then finally, you speak with a clarity you previously thought impossible. Mental articulation is precisely that bridge. It's the set of internal tools that allows you to transform chaos into order, emotion into concept, sensation into argument. From this point on, you are no longer someone who stammers ideas. You become someone who integrates reasoning with feeling and expresses it with the precision of a well-executed blow. And here is the most powerful truth about this topic. Every human being is born with physical joints, but mental joints are consciously constructed. Nobody taught you this, but you can learn it now. In the following sections, you will learn about the internal tools that enhance your ability to articulate thoughts, each of which functions as a new articulation that integrates with the movement of your mind. Over time, you will realize that expressing ideas is not difficult. What is difficult is trying to live without articulating them. In the West, expression is treated as talent. In the East, it's treated as discipline. And that difference changes everything. Because when you believe something is talent, you're either born with it or you're not. But when you understand that something is discipline, you free yourself from destiny and take the helm of your own evolution. Communication is not a gift, it's a mastery. In absolutely all Eastern traditions, there is a central foundation. Human beings are malleable. A monk is not born patient. An archer is not born precise. Swordsmen are not born skilled. They all start out awkward, insecure, disconnected. But everyone becomes a master through conscious repetition. It's exactly the same with speech. The difficulty you feel today is not predetermined. It is not definitive. It is not an identity. It is simply the consequence of a spirit that has never been trained to manifest itself. A warrior only discovers his power when he finally holds the sword with true intention. A mind only discovers its clarity when it finally learns to use its inner tools. These tools, which you will learn about along the way, are not about speaking beautifully. They are about thinking with structure, feeling with understanding, acting with presence, and expressing with authenticity. And here is a crucial point of Eastern philosophy. Technique always precedes transformation. Before you can control your speech, you learn to control your rhythm. Before you can master the argument, you learn to master your breathing. Before you can persuade someone else, you must learn to persuade yourself. Before you speak out, you need to speak inward. None of this has to do with intelligence. It has to do with handling. Just as a beginner doesn't know how to hold a brush to write Japanese calligraphy, a beginner in communication doesn't know how to hold their own ideas. Not because they are weak, but because they are still raw. Refinement comes from practice. What seems difficult today becomes natural tomorrow. What paralyzes you today flows like water tomorrow. And remember, the mind that trains every day beats the mind that relies on luck. If you simply wait for the day when you'll start speaking well, you're doomed to repeat the same cycle for years. But if you choose to train, even little by little, even 1% a day, something miraculous happens. Fluency is born. Confidence emerges. Thought takes shape even before it reaches your mouth. And when it does, it arrives clear. From this point on, you stop being a spectator of your own silence and become the artisan of your own voice. The following techniques, such as speaking slowly, using silence, expanding vocabulary, and organizing intention, are internal tools that, when applied with discipline, completely transform the way you express yourself. And when you master these tools, something magical happens. Your mind finally stops being a labyrinth and becomes a path. Technique 1. Speak slowly to hear your own mind. In Zen, there is a simple principle: haste makes waste. And when it comes to communication, this becomes even more true. Most people believe that speaking quickly is a sign of intelligence, but in Eastern philosophy, the opposite is true. Speaking quickly is a sign of internal disarray, and internal disarray is the root of a clouded mind. Think of a sword waving in the air. It doesn't cut precisely, it just moves aimlessly. That's how fast speech is. It doesn't communicate, it just takes up space. Speaking slowly is not just a communication technique, it's a spiritual exercise. It's the practice that allows the mind to breathe, thoughts to take shape, and the spirit to stabilize before words are released. When you speak slowly, it's not the voice that slows down, it's the inner chaos. Speech isn't born in the mouth, it's born in the silence between one thought and another. And when you reduce that space to a minimum, speech becomes an impulsive, unthinking, fragile outburst. It's like trying to aim at a target while running on a tightrope. The truth is, nobody articulates well while they're rushing. The human mind wasn't made to organize ideas at breakneck speed. When speech comes too fast, the tongue tries to keep up with thoughts that haven't fully formed yet, and that's why they fall apart, stumble, and get jumbled. You stutter, lose your train of thought, try to correct yourself, and the other person notices. This weakens your authority, and even worse, weakens your relationship with yourself. Now observe the opposite. When you speak slowly, something magical happens. Your mind begins to have time to construct the sentence, time to choose the word, time to sense the intention, time to observe the other person's reaction, time to reflect on whether it truly represents what you think. And that time is power. It is mastery. It is presence. It is clarity. That's why Zen monks practice speaking slowly, like they practice walking slowly. Every step is conscious. Every word is deliberate. Every silence is part of the message. When you speak slowly, you don't just convey ideas, you convey maturity. People perceive you as someone who knows what they're saying, someone who is in control, someone who doesn't live at the mercy of their own anxiety. Even if you're internally in a storm, slow speech anchors your spirit. And there is something even deeper. When you speak slowly, you hear yourself, and when you listen to yourself, you notice nuances you previously ignored. You perceive hidden emotions, words that don't make sense, disconnected thoughts. Speech becomes a mirror of the mind, and the mirror only works when it's not agitated. Another advantage is that the other person also listens to you better. The human mind processes emotional and rational content at different rates, and speaking slowly gives the message space to sink in, resonate, and settle. You're not just informing, you're transforming. Therefore, before any other technique, you must master this one. Speak slowly so you can think clearly. Speak slowly to breathe mindfully. Speak slowly to see your own mind working. Your intonation is the dojo where your articulation is born. Technique 2. Silence as an invisible weapon. Silence is the most misunderstood tool in the modern world. For many, silence signifies weakness, embarrassment, insecurity. But in Eastern philosophy, silence means power. It is the space where the mind returns to its axis, where the spirit finds balance, and where thought articulates itself before taking shape. Silence is an invisible blade, and those who know how to wield it become true masters in the art of communication. The West speaks of silence as the absence of words. The East speaks of silence as presence of consciousness. It is in silence that we observe without reacting, feel without getting lost, think without haste, look without judgment. A warrior does not despair in the void. He prepares. An archer does not fear the interval between drawing and releasing the arrow. He trusts. A wise person does not flee from silence. He cultivates it. And yet, most people panic at the mere pause. They feel they need to fill every inch of air with sounds, empty phrases, forced laughter, unnecessary explanations. All of this stems from fear. Fear of not seeming interesting, fear of being judged, fear of showing vulnerability. But this fear reveals the exact opposite of what you want to convey. It reveals insecurity. Learn this today. Whoever masters silence masters the perception of time, and whoever masters the perception of time masters the conversation. When you pause, a real, conscious, solid pause, you reorganize the emotional field of the interaction. Suddenly, the other person needs to keep up with your pace. Suddenly, they realize that your speech is not desperate, but deliberate. Suddenly, they understand that you are thinking, and that what comes out of your mouth will have weight. Silence creates expectation, and expectation creates meaning. Furthermore, silence protects you. In tense discussions, in difficult conversations, in moments of pressure, it is silence that prevents the impulsive outburst that destroys relationships. It gives you the space to choose your response instead of reacting automatically. Silence is the boundary between instinct and wisdom. And there is an even deeper lesson. Silence reveals who is truly willing to listen to you. If someone can't stand waiting for your answer, that person isn't interested in your opinion. They're interested in winning the conversation. If someone gets annoyed by your pause, that person isn't seeking truth, they're seeking control. Someone who truly respects you waits. Someone who truly listens accepts your time, and most importantly, silence connects you to yourself. That's where you ask, does this represent who I am? Why do I want to say this? What really matters here? Silence is the moment when you acknowledge your own intention before letting it out in words. And when you learn to honor that inner space, your speech gains a power that cannot be faked. Therefore, from now on, don't fill the silences. Use us. Honor them. Grab them. Silence is the invisible sword that cuts through confusion and reveals the truth. Technique 3. Expand your vocabulary, your collection of internal slides. In the art of swordsmanship, no samurai relies on a single type of blade. He possesses long swords, short swords, precision blades, impact blades, light blades for speed, and heavy blades for breaking through defenses. Each sword serves a purpose. Each sword creates a possibility. And just as blades amplify a warrior's capabilities, words amplify a thinker's capabilities. Vocabulary is the mind's arsenal. When you have few words, your mind moves like a warrior with a single movement, limited, repetitive, predictable. You try to express a complex thought and realize that no word fits perfectly because your toolbox is too small to represent the universe that exists within you. This generates frustration, a feeling of inadequacy, and even the mistake of believing that you weren't born to communicate. But here's the truth. It's not that you don't know how to communicate. You just don't have the right internal tools. Each new word is a new articulation, a point of connection, a possibility. Just as the body needs joints to expand its movements, the mind needs vocabulary to expand its thoughts. The more words you know, the more freedom you have to shape ideas, create nuances, express feelings, explain concepts, and defend perspectives. Eastern philosophy views language as a spiritual path. In Taoism, it is said that which cannot be named cannot be understood. In Zen, it is said that a single word can illuminate more than 1,000 books. And Musashi stated that precision is in everything, in the mind, in the blade, in the word. Your everyday vocabulary is the blade you use every day. His profound vocabulary is the secret collection of blades he almost never touches. But it is only when you move words from the profound to the everyday that your communication transforms. For this, you need two essential Eastern practices. 1. Read as a disciple, not as a consumer. Reading is not just about absorbing content. Reading is observing words as one observes slides. How does that word cut? Why does it fit here? What nuance does it create? What feeling does it evoke? Books, articles, essays, poetry, Eastern philosophy, all of these expand your mental arsenal. 2. Write like a craftsman, not like someone who just wants to finish. Writing is the act of sharpening words. It's not enough to just write any old way. You need to refine it. Replace common words with precise words. Replace random phrases with purposeful ones. Replace lengthy explanations with powerful summaries. At first, this requires effort. Then it becomes natural. And one day you realize that you speak with the same precision with which you think. Vocabulary is the foundation of articulation. Without it, you think in a limited way. With it, you think with breadth, depth, and direction. Expand your inner horizons and the whole world will become more expressive. Technique 4. Know what you want to say. Intention before action. In samurai strategy, before any strike, there is an invisible instant called intention. This is the moment when the warrior decides, with his spirit, not his arm, what he will do. The blade only moves after the intention is resolved. If the intention is weak, the blow is weak. If the intention is confused, the blow is confused. If the intention is pure, the blow is inevitable. The same is true with speech. Before any word, there is an intention. Before any sentence, there is a meaning. Before any argument, there is an internal direction. But most people try to speak without first knowing what he's trying to say. And that's why they get lost. That's why they contradict each other. That's why they explain too much. That's why they change their minds mid-sentence. That's why they weaken their own identity without realizing it. In Eastern philosophy, speaking without clarity of intention is like drawing a sword in the dark. You don't know what you're attacking, what you're defending, or if you're even striking yourself. There are 3 pillars that form true intention. 1. Clarity about what you truly believe. You don't need to be 100% right. The world is too fluid for absolute certainties. But you need to have reflected enough to know what you believe at that moment. Superficial opinions are fragile because they were born not from the spirit, but from impulse. Before speaking, ask yourself, do I really believe this? If the answer is, I don't know, then it's not time to talk about it yet. 2. Awareness of the reason why you want to say something. Do you want to inform us? Do you want to express a feeling? Do you want to take a stand? Do you want to protect yourself? Want to connect? Do you want to persuade? Or do you just want to win an argument? Your intention determines what you say. And often their speech is confused because their motivation is confused. 3. The responsibility to only speak about what you know. Talking about what you haven't studied is like using a sword without training. You might land a hit, but you'll probably hurt yourself in the process. Authenticity stems from honesty. If you don't know, say you don't know. If you're learning, say that you're learning. This builds trust, both internally and externally. When you bring these 3 pillars together, something powerful happens. His speech becomes inevitable. The words flow naturally because you've already organized the intention before even expressing it aloud. Your energy remains stable, your argument becomes coherent, his presence becomes solid. Intention is the central focus of communication. Without an axle, there is no stability. With a clear axis, speech becomes like a perfect sword, straight, precise, unbeatable. Technique 5. Assume the other person knows something you don't know. One of the biggest blocks to human communication stems from the ego. The ego creates a defense mechanism that says, "I need to be right." The ego transforms conversations into battles. It transforms disagreements into threats. It transforms debates into invisible wars where no one seeks truth, only victory. But in Eastern philosophy, especially in Zen and Buddha, there is a principle that destroys this cycle: strategic humility. Being humble isn't about belittling yourself. Being humble is about keeping your glass empty so it can receive more water. It's recognizing that while you speak, there's always an entire universe you don't know about. And that universe might be hidden precisely in the other person's point of view. When you enter a conversation with the attitude of, "I already know everything," your mind closes. And when the mind closes, it loses internal articulations. It loses possibilities, it loses connections, it loses growth. You become a stone trying to learn to float. But when you enter with the attitude of, "Maybe that person knows something I don't," your mind opens up to integrate new perspectives. You cease to be stone and become water. Musashi said that a wise warrior observes the opponent's movements not to confirm his own thoughts, but to discover what you haven't yet realized. The same applies to dialogue. Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. It is observing reality through the other person's eyes. And this creates a radical change in the quality of your communication. Because when the other person realizes that you're not defending your ego, but seeking understanding, they lower their defenses. They open up, they relax, they show vulnerability. They think with you, not against you. And then the phenomenon occurs that transforms conversations into expansions. Ideas cease to be opposing forces and become complementary. Having strategic humility means 3 things. 1. Listen for real. Listen, no, in order to respond. Listen, not to argue back. Hearing no is a way to protect yourself. Listen to understand. Listen to integrate. Listen to find nuance. 2. Taking the other person's hypothesis seriously. Ask yourself, does that make sense? What can I learn here? Does this reveal something I hadn't considered? This attitude prevents you from getting stuck in weak beliefs simply out of pride. 3. Defend your vision with integrity, not stubbornness. You don't need to give in to others in order to evolve. You just need to consider it. And if, after considering it, you still believe in what you think, then your idea becomes stronger. When a belief is subjected to the fire of another's perspective and survives, it becomes steel. Strategic humility is the bridge between thought and wisdom. It's also the tool that makes your speech more articulate, because by integrating external nuances, your answers become more complete, deeper and more interesting. Your mind gains more articulations, more connections, and a broader repertoire. When you assume that the other person knows something you don't, you lose nothing, you gain the world. Technique 6. Knowing when to be silent. The wisdom of strategic retreat. In the art of Eastern warfare, there is a principle known as the strategic retreat. He teaches that when battle ceases to be productive and becomes merely destructive, the wise warrior retreats. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Not to give up, but to conserve energy and choose the next action with clarity. This wisdom applies perfectly to human communication, because there are times when speaking builds, and there are times when speaking destroys. There are dialogues that bring people closer, and there are dialogues that erode them. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to be articulate is thinking they need to win every argument, respond to every provocation, justify everything, explain everything, and always insist. But the true master of communication is not the one who talks a lot. It's the person who knows when not to speak. When a conversation turns into a battlefield where the other person is more interested in winning than in understanding, the dialogue is dead. And from that moment on, any word you add will only be fuel for the war. In those moments, silence is not cowardice, it's mastery. Here, Silence acts as a shield. He cuts off the other person's aggressive emotional flow. He protects your energy. It prevents you from saying things you didn't want to say. He prevents his mind from being filled with poison. It keeps you whole, while the other gets lost in chaos. In Zen philosophy, it is said, "Those who are sinking in their own ego will try to drag you down with them." Silence is the gesture of the master, who does not allow this. But recognizing the exact moment to remain silent requires 3 internal insights. 1. Recognizing when the conversation has moved from the realm of truth into the realm of ego. When someone only wants to prove they are right, there is no possible dialogue. You can't convince a mind that doesn't want to listen. You're just wasting energy. 2. Recognizing when your emotions have begun to control your speech. If your voice is altered, if your body is tense, if your mind is racing, you have left reasoning and entered reactivity. In this state, no word represents who you are. 3. Understanding that backing down preserves the relationship and strengthens your dignity. Strategic silence prevents the escalation of emotional violence. It shows that you have control over yourself. It shows that you're not there to prove anything, just to preserve the peace, yours and the other person's. And there is a profound truth here. The person who isn't willing to listen to you doesn't deserve your energy at that moment. Stop, breathe, be silent, and come back when both are present. This gesture is so powerful because it puts you back at the center of your own identity. When you choose silence, you choose not to be swept away by someone else's emotional storm. You choose to keep the spirit intact. You choose to maintain clarity. And when he speaks again, he speaks with intention, not impulsively. Strategic silence is the boundary between the wise and the impulsive, and every master communicator learns to recognize it. Technique 7. Never be ashamed to say what you think. To express yourself is to exist in the Eastern way of life. Expression is not merely communication, it is identity. The word is seen as the manifestation of the spirit in the material world. When you silence what you truly think to please others, avoid conflict or appear appropriate, you are not being polite. You are erasing yourself. You are allowing your true essence to remain hidden, compressed, dormant, and no one finds peace living as a shadow of themselves. In Zen, there is a powerful phrase, "The tree that hides its trunk will never see the sun." And this means that every human being who hides their truth ends up living in inner darkness. Many people spend years shaping their speech to fit what they think others want to hear. They say they like what they don't like, that they agree with what they disagree with, that they accept what hurts them, that they prefer what they don't prefer. This silent self-censorship corrodes the soul, and sooner or later, it creates an emotional bomb that explodes in the form of anxiety, burnout, frustration, suppressed anger, and a suffocating feeling of not belonging. When you're ashamed to speak your mind, what you really lose isn't the conversation, it's yourself. But in Eastern philosophy, especially in Taoism, there is a principle that liberates. Inner truth is like a river. No matter how hard you try to block it, it will always find a way. The more you try to suppress it, the more pressure you create. The more you remain silent, the more your identity erodes. And the more you live according to what you don't believe, the further you drift from your true nature. What causes someone to develop a fear of expressing themselves? 3 emotional poisons. The fear of judgment. The mind creates fantasies about what others will think, when most of the time nobody is thinking. People are trapped in their own internal battles. The conditioning to please. From childhood, many learn that love comes as a reward for conformity, not for authenticity. The mistaken belief that your voice isn't important enough. This stems from years of emotional silencing, oppressive environments, or internalized criticism. But here's the life-changing revelation. You don't need anyone's permission to exist. Your voice is not an invitation. It's a right. Your opinion is not a risk. It's a presence. And those who distance themselves when you're being genuine have never been connected to your real self, only to the version you choose to please others. Speaking your mind doesn't mean being rude, aggressive, or inflexible. It means being honest. It means being whole. It means being aligned with your center. The secret is to express your truth calmly, not violently. Strength lies not in shouting, but in consistency. The world respects those who respect themselves. The world listens to those who listen to themselves. The world recognizes those who recognize themselves. When you start expressing yourself without shame, something extraordinary happens. You attract people who resonate with your true frequency. Friendships change, relationships change, environments change. Your life is reorganized around authenticity. To express oneself is to exist, and to exist fully is the highest form of self-control. In Eastern traditions, no skill is seen as something that is achieved and then finished. On the contrary, everything is a path. Everything is a process. Everything is impermanence. The archer doesn't learn to shoot arrows. He becomes an eternal student of the arrow. The monk doesn't learn to meditate. He becomes an eternal student of the mind. The swordsman doesn't learn to fight. He becomes an eternal student of his own body. The same is true with communication. You don't learn to communicate well. You enter the path of communication, and the path is infinite. Therefore, no matter how articulate you are today, there will always be room to refine, polish, and deepen. Speech is a reflection of the mind, and the mind is alive, changeable, and dynamic. As you evolve, your speech evolves. As you expand your consciousness, your words expand. As your vision changes, your expression changes. The mistake people make when trying to communicate better is believing that simply understanding the theory is enough. But theory is just a map. And a map can never replace a walk. Constant practice is what transforms information into skill, skill into naturalness, and naturalness into mastery. In the Eastern way, discipline is freedom. And this means that the more you train, the freer your mind becomes to think, express, feel, and exist with clarity. Here are the pillars of continuous practice. 1. Daily practice of micro-conversations. Speak a little every day, with colleagues, with family members, with strangers. Start small. Practice emotional stability. Practice taking breaks. Practice your breathing. Train your intention. 2. Conscious writing as a tool for refinement. Writing is the most silent dojo of thought. Write reflections, drafts, long comments, short analyses of your own day. Then read it again. Then edit. Writing is like observing your own mind in slow motion. 3. Constantly expand your deep vocabulary. Reading daily sharpens the mind. Learning new terms helps develop mental articulations. With each new word, a new idea becomes possible. 4. Self-observation in conversations. Notice when you accelerate. Notice when your emotions take over. Notice when you talk too much. Recognize when silence would be wiser. This self-awareness transforms communication into active meditation. 5. Weekly review. Has your mind evolved? The East values self-observation without judgment. Ask yourself, am I clearer now? Am I more present? Am I being more intentional? Am I more myself? This review keeps you on track. And here is the most beautiful part of this journey. With 3 months of mindful practice, your entire communication can change. But with 3 years of practice, you change as a human being. You become someone difficult to unsettle, someone capable of expressing yourself calmly, someone who thinks deeply before speaking, someone who converses with presence, someone who inspires simply by being. Practice makes perfect, and you are the way. There is a moment, silent, almost imperceptible, when something within you realigns. It's not a great emotional explosion. It's not a sudden enlightenment. It's more like the instant when the water of a lake finally calms. The waves cease. The turbulence disappears. And for the first time, you can see your own reflection. That is the moment of redemption in communication, when your mind and your voice meet for the first time in harmony. For years, you may have felt that your words never truly represented who you were. Perhaps you expressed yourself in fragments. Perhaps you remained silent when you most needed to speak. Perhaps you tried to explain feelings that seemed too big to fit into the sentences you could find. On some level, this was always painful, because each failed attempt created the illusion of inadequacy. But the truth is, you were never incapable. You were simply not aligned. And then, after practicing silence, rhythm, vocabulary, intention, humility, and presence, something changes. Suddenly you realize you have more space to think. You realize you feel more clearly. He notices that the anxiety that previously quickened his speech now dissolves. You notice a new calmness in your breathing. You realize that your mind is more organized, almost as if you've created new internal connections that you didn't have before. And then the magic moment happens. You speak, and your voice comes out clear, without tripping, without getting tangled up, without trying to please, without seeking approval, without fear of silence, without fear of seeming wrong. She simply leaves. And when she leaves, she's yours, authentic, entire, aligned. This is the turning point. From this point on, your communication ceases to be an internal battleground and becomes a natural flow. You no longer need to try to articulate. You have articulated. You no longer need to force ideas. They flow. You no longer need to choose words. The words appear at the right moment because now there is space for them to live. Redemption in this context is not just about communicating better. It is to feel whole for the first time. It's realizing that your voice is not a disconnected instrument, but an extension of your spirit. In Zen philosophy, it is said that there is a moment in the disciple's life when the sword is no longer a weapon, but an extension of the soul. When this happens, the blow ceases to be a physical gesture and becomes the natural expression of being. It's the same with the voice. When mind and speech align, you are no longer speaking. You are existing through speech. At that moment, you realize something profound. What was holding you back wasn't a lack of ability, but an excess of internal noise. Now that the noise has ceased, clarity has emerged, and you feel something you may never have felt before, a healthy pride in your own existence. Your voice is alive, and when your voice is reborn, you are reborn with it. Redemption is the moment when the light enters, but it is discipline that keeps that light burning. In the East, every true transformation needs to be supported by a ritual, something concrete, repetitive, and intentional that anchors change in reality. Without rituals, the mind reverts to chaos. Without rituals, clarity dissipates. Without rituals, the ego regains control. Therefore, after finding your voice, the next step is to protect it. Institutional action is precisely that, the set of practices that keeps your mind articulate, your speech focused, and your expression aligned. It's the internal dojo you build to ensure your transformation is not fleeting but permanent. Discipline doesn't have to be rigid or burdensome. In fact, in Zen, discipline is seen as freedom. The more structured you are internally, the less the world can throw you off balance externally. And this structure arises from 5 main pillars. 1. Morning rituals for inner alignment. Before speaking to anyone else, speak to yourself. A minute to breathe. 30 seconds of silence. A statement of intent. Today I speak with presence. Today my voice represents my mind. This small ritual reorganizes focus and strengthens clarity before entering the world. 2. A weekly commitment to reading. Reading is the nourishment of a deep vocabulary. She keeps her mental articulations alive. Choose topics that broaden your horizons: philosophy, psychology, history, spirituality, literature. The more you read, the more you think. The more you think, the more you articulate. 3. A fixed writing routine. Writing is the workshop where words and thoughts are honed. Set aside a few minutes each day to write reflections, perceptions, arguments, stories, conclusions, uncertainties. It doesn't matter what you write. What matters is as you write. It is in the act of writing that you become aware of your mental patterns and reorganize them. 4. Intentional speech exercises. Practice this with every conversation. Conscious pauses, slow pace, clear articulation, strategic silence, observing emotions. Over time, this becomes natural, almost automatic. 5. A personal code of honor. The samurai lived by Bushido, a code that guided every action. Create your own code. I don't speak without meaning. I don't use words that I don't feel. I don't argue to win, but to understand. I withdraw when ego dominates the conversation. This code protects your expression and keeps you true to your new identity. Institutional action transforms your life because it replaces improvisation with structure, instability with order, and confusion with consistency. It allows your new voice to be not just a flash of clarity, but a lasting state. It creates the foundation for you to become someone who speaks with maturity, thinks deeply, and exists with truth. And finally, there is something essential. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is the guardian of your freedom. She ensures that her voice will never again be hijacked by insecurity, anxiety, ego, or chaos. It keeps you centered, present, and clear-headed. And that is all a warrior of the mind needs to walk honorably in the world. There comes a moment in the journey when the disciple finally understands that the sword they have carried their entire life has never been outside, it has always been inside. The external blade, the one the world sees, is merely a symbol. The true sword is the mind. The true struggle is internal. The true victory is silent. And now, as you reach the end of this path, you realize that everything you have sought, clarity, fluidity, courage, articulation, presence, has always been available, merely dormant, waiting for you to learn how to access it. Ultimately, communication was never about speaking well. It was about knowing who you are, because when you discover who you are, your voice becomes inevitable. And when your voice becomes unavoidable, the world finally listens to you. This video, this workout, this path, it wasn't created to transform you into someone who impresses, but into someone who in someone who exists with strength, with serenity, with authenticity. In someone capable of using words like a samurai uses a sword, not to wound, not to dominate, but to cut through illusion, pierce through chaos, and make room for truth. And now, in closing, I want to share with you the reflection that Zen offers its disciples when they complete a cycle. When the mind is silent, the voice emerges. When the voice emerges, the being reveals itself. When the self reveals itself, the path is illuminated. You've made it this far. It means something inside you desires change, desires evolution, desires expansion. It means you're tired of feeling trapped, silenced, misunderstood. It means you're ready to see yourself as someone who deserves to be heard. And you do deserve it, you always have. The only obstacle was the internal noise, and now you know how to quiet it. Take a moment to breathe. Observe this silence. Feel your own presence. What you feel now, this awareness, is your true voice preparing to live in the world. From this moment on, you are no longer someone who struggles to express themselves. You are someone who trained to express oneself. And everything that is trained becomes stronger. Everything that is polished becomes perfect. Everything that is honored becomes powerful. Your relationships will change because you will change. Your connections will be deeper because your speech will be more authentic. Your opportunities will increase because your presence will be noticed, and your life will gradually reorganize itself around the clarity you nurture. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. Mastery is born from consistency. Transformation arises from repetition. The spirit grows in silence but flourishes in action. So, before we wrap up, I want to ask you two very simple things which make all the difference in ensuring this message continues to reach those who need it. 1. If this video touched you, please leave a like. It may seem like a small thing, but for me, who creates each word with intention, this gesture signifies strength. It signifies energy returning. It signifies that this message found a heart willing to listen. 2. If you want to continue training your mind, your presence, and your clarity, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We are building a community of mind warriors here, people who want to evolve, deepen their understanding, and expand. Each video is a new blade. Each teaching is a step on the path, and I want to walk it with you. Thank you so much for staying with me until now. I value your time. I honor your mind. I honor your voice. that voice that has finally awakened. See you at the next training session. And until then, may your mind be clear, your speech truthful, and your presence walk like a silent sword through the world.